This topic has always remained close to me क्योंकि मुझे इसके ही प्रोजेक्ट में यूनिवर्सिटी में बहुत कम मार्क्स मिले थे. And when this when this came, into news and all, I thought, let me go deeper into this. And then I thought, why don't I take a PD on the same? Because हमारे I think DP में जब मैंने explore किया, I got to know कि DP में also same thing is being taught, and we in IH also we can take it, and it has a lot of critical aspect, so we can implement in our syllabus as well. So without further ado, let me start. This is Environmental Impact Assessment 2020 draft. So I will not be only focusing on what the Environmental 2020 draft is all about. I will also be talking what exactly EIA is. So first we'll talk about it and we'll see some real life scenario or maybe some cases, a little bit of history because without history IH cannot be complete. So I will also be going to history, but I will not bore you. And yes, we will have a lot of discussion. Anywhere you feel you want to add anything, or you want to suggest anything, or you want to share any example, just you can stop me anywhere you feel. So let's start. So first thing first, what EI is all about. So UNEP Environmental United Nations Environment Program defines EI as a kind of a tool to identify environmental, economical, social problems that a project might have. So beforehand, it tries to give it tries to identify and tries to give a kind of a warning sign that if you start with this project, you might end up having this problem. So this does not only show the problem, but it also suggests some solution. And this is where it works. And this helps in avoiding so many disasters or accidents. So we will also be talking about same in next few slides. So how it used to work. So when EI was not there in the plan or policy, what was the scenario and how it used to work. So let's say there is a businessman or maybe industrialist having a lot of money and wants to start a project. Maybe it could be a mining project, it could be any industry, or it could be any project. So if the person wants to invest and want to start any firm, then what person used to do is person would go to any government institution and most likely the person would get the yes, and project will start. So it was a simple process. A person has money, person wants to start a project, would go to government and government would say yes or no. Mainly in India it was not happening like what I said, because up to 1992 we had more of a licensor. So only selective individuals used to get and very less in number. But even the government projects, wherever they used to start without any prior assessment. And then what happened during or after EIA came? So after EIA came, let's say there is an individual who wants to start with a project, any kind of project. So the first thing will happen is the screening. Now over here, when the person wants to start with any project, the first thing he will decide is the location, the site, wherein the project will start. After that, there will be evaluation, there will be examination that what is the project all about, what impact it might have, what size of the project is, and what are the probable, problems that are going to come. So these are the criteria they assess in screening. So let's say somebody wants to start with mining or maybe a multi-purpose project or maybe a highway or a bridge. They have to see the screening that at the first place, is it advisable or not? Is it feasible or not? And here on also they get to know that whether we need EI or not. So let's say the project is very small and project is not going to have any environmental problems or it is very minor. Then here only they decide that this project does not need any EIA and can operate on its own. So this is the first stage. After screening, there is scoping. Now what is scoping? So as they give green flag from the first end, they have to involve different stakeholders. Now stakeholders that can be local public, directly or indirectly people involved in that. different experts. So they all come together, they give their own assessment, their agreement, their disagreement, and then they decide whether they should go ahead with the project or not. What is the ultimate level of value of problem? So whether the benefits are more or the what are the number of limitations. So just for say an example, if they're starting with a multi-purpose project like Narmada or any dam wherein they want to have hydroelectric power plant, so they have to consult those local people living around there, engineers, then different experts who are going to build the dam. Apart from this, they also need to take advice from the seismologists, those who study, the earthquake and all. So whether this big embankment will be sustaining for this many years or not. So hearing different stakeholders come in picture, and I think this is the best way to conduct Tier and D assessment as well, because wherein strand 4 we need to involve different stakeholder and their implication. So this could be a good way of conducting the same. So they also suggest some alternative. In this stage, let's say public are not happy with this, so they might suggest some alternative, like saying that dam height should be less than what you are proposing, or maybe the area should be lesser. So something like that. There can be many alternatives that can come from engineers or maybe other experts or from the local people. After this, the third and fourth I have combined over here. Third and fourth stage is impact assessment, mitigation, and management. So in this stage, what they do is, first of all, they analyze what are the specific problems they are going to have and how they can mitigate the same. So they try to minimize the effect, whether it is economical or it is environmental. So economical, they try to reduce the cost or whoever is going to be affected. Similar way, environmental also, they try to keep the whatever problems are going to be there, they try to keep the less. Now, herein whatever solutions were proposed during this stage, they try to implement here. And once this is done, then their EIA report is prepared. And in this EIA report, it contains their solutions, their recommendations, their green areas, their red areas, that which they can go ahead with or which they might say no at all. And ultimately, everything, all the process is attached with the government institution, and ultimately they give a no whether to go ahead with the project or not. So if everything is in favor, then they might start their project. But if there is any danger, if there is any problem which might cause an accident or devastation, they might stop the project. Now, this is not one time cycle. This used to happen twice. This used to happen twice a year, and they have to submit their report regularly. But according to this new draft, they can only do this once a year. So this is something which is in controversy, that why only once, you should have it twice. Yes. So we'll now try to see what is the brief history of EIA. So first and foremost, it started in USA. It surprised me when I searched that USA was the first country to come with this idea, and they came up with this idea in 1969. And after they implemented, UN got inspired, and they took this idea into General Assembly of 1982 as a world charter. And as you know that UN is an umbrella, and through UN, they can influence a lot of nations. And you know that India is a part of UN, so India also implemented the same. So in 1982 it happened, and in 1986 India came up with Environmental Protection Act. So this was the first time we made any regulation about environment. Now you would be like, within 4 years it happened. So during back in 1980s, it wouldn't be that easy कि 4 साल में UN ने कुछ suggest किया और 4 साल में हमने ले लिया. No, वो और भी delay होने वाला था. But then something happened. Something happened so bad in India that we had to make this Environmental Protection Act. and I think many of you know this. So we are going to focus that in the next slide. After 1986, under the same act in 1994, we took EIA and we made it for the first time compulsory for all the big projects to have EIA certificate. And then between 1994 to 2006, we made 7 different amendments. Now, what were these amendments? What it had to do with the environment? We will see in next few slides. So before we go, I would like to ask a question. Does anyone know what is this image all about? Can anyone try to guess what are this image? Where are this image from? Yes, Pooja?
Maybe Bhopal gas.
Yes, yes, that's correct. These images are from Bhopal gas tragedy, and that happened in 1984. So, as I said, India quickly adopted those UN suggestions. The only reason was that in 1984 we had the world's worst disaster. That was Bhopal gas tragedy. There was this company called Methyl Isocyanate or Union Carbide India, which were manufacturing methyl isocyanate. I think science guys can better understand what this gas is all about. What I all know is this is the deadliest gas, and through this they make fertilizers and all. So they had 2 plants. Okay, they had 2 plants, one in India, one in USA. So I will come back to on that, but let me just tell the impact. 30,000 tons of MIC was released immediately in Bhopal, and 2 to 3,000 people died overnight, and 15 to 20,000 people died over a long period of time. And directly or indirectly, 5 to 6 lakh people were impacted. So this was a small plant and had a huge impact. And now this impact was not only limited to India. It went outside India and it was, published everywhere. So this image I got, I don't know how I got it, but this was one of the board where their motto was written in the Union Carbide that safety is everyone's business, but not in India. Because if they compare Indian plant and US based plant, then there was a huge difference. Like when they examined, they got to know that all the emergency equipment they were having malfunctioning in India, whereas in USA they had all the emergency based things computerized and they were working condition. Over here in India, we had a staff of engineers. Very in USA, if they require 12 staff, 12 engineers, here in they had 5 to 6 engineers only. Similar way, in USA they used to give 6 months of training for the engineers for safety training and emergency evacuation and all. Wherein in India it was only 15 days, 15 days. So this was because of the absence of EIA. As I said, there was no EIA before that. There was no any legal things wherein they have to do this, and lack of what if from our government and what if from the workers. So as I said, on 2nd December, Bhopal gas tragedy happened, and on 12th December, this was there in the US news that Indian plant was below the safety standard as compared to USA. And not only this, they also wrote that Indians ask less of what if question. So when we say what if question is nothing but EIA draft. So if government, if people would have asked what if you get failed, what if something happens, what if disaster happens, and if the things are yes, that okay, we are prepared, we are having precautions and all, then the plant is safe. And that's what guarantees EIA. Now, as Mariam ma'am says, win-win in real life is a myth. Okay, so it's very hard to keep a balance between environmentalists and industrialists. So EIA tries to have a balance, but it's very it's a utopian society kind of thing. So it rarely happens. Mainly, what happens is either the EIA draft is inclined towards industrialists, wherein they have some kind of favor, some kind of clauses which favors industrialists, but you know that at the end of the day, environmentalists will not be happy. Or else, in the other scenario, it can either be inclined towards the environmentalists, wherein industrialists may not be happy with that. Now you know that being a democratic country like India, wherein what matters a lot. And so they try to switch the balance. They sometimes try to go to environmentalists, they sometimes try to go to industrialists, and they try to have balance. Now, if I say, I told you that between 1994 and 2003, we had seven changes, but five of them I would like to say. In 1994, the first thing, EIA came. If you do not have EIA clearance, you will get the penalty. Definitely, this was favoring the environmentalists. So this was good for them. Then in 1997, something else was introduced, and that was that public hearing was introduced. That means if any project starts in any specific locality, those people will be involved in the decision making. So that was also again a good thing, and that was from the environmental perspective. Then in 2000, something happened like this, that projects can start without environmental clearance, and inspection can be done later on. So no matter how hazardous the project is, it can start. Later on, they will figure out कि EIA देना है या नहीं देना है. And you know that once project starts, it's very hard for them to stop that. So that was favoring to industrialists. And in 2003, this was something like that. Any area which comes under the radius of 15 kilometers, that has to go under EIA. No matter whether the project is small, big, or how, whether it is not even hazardous, then too it has to go under EIA. Later on, after 1 or 2 months, they reduced it to 10. Now, यहाँ पे कुछ लोचा है या दाल में कुछ काला है. So why they immediately reduced from 15 to 10? Let's see a story. So recently this happened. You must be knowing that Assam wells were on fire, and the fire continued for 1 or 2 months. So it had something to do with this change from 15 kilometer to 10 kilometer. Now see, when this happened, Congress people were like, "Kyun ho raha hai?" and you people gave the permission and all. But you see, at the end of the day, politicians, they see their benefits. Like, see, this happened during the BJP government, NDA government, but UPA government, when they came in 2004-5, they could have undo the change, right? But they did not, क्योंकि उसको वहां से पैसा मिलता था, वहां से उसको oil आ रहा था, so they did not do. But when this well were on fire, they were ready to oppose. So exactly what happened, let's see. So there is this Dibru-Shekhawar National Park in Assam. So it is lying in this area, and this is the Baghjan oil gas, जो अभी वहां पे fire हुआ था. Now, when they had a 15 kilometer wala close, this was coming under. That means it has to go from EIA, and this might not pass. So ultimately, within 1 or 2 months, they reduced it to 10 kilometers, and now it looks like something like this. So these Baghjan oil gases are over here, and this is Dibru-Shekhawar National Park. According to many reports, it is showing that still it is under 10 kilometers. So some people say it is at the 9 kilometers, some people say it is at the 8 kilometers. So it must go from EI, but it has not taken those steps. And recent to fire. Hello. Hello.
Sir, you are audible. Go ahead.
Yeah. Okay. So these are the recent picture of the fire. Now you can see how it has destructed. It has not only destructed those national parks and those vegetation, but also the water over there. So if you see the image, the flora, local flora and local fauna, they have been affected. People have been, evacuated from there, and this is the result. And this is still the condition, even though we have EI. And the funny thing is that when it was asked that this might create some problem and this has to go under EI and all, so there was this report or news that they are going to have exploration below the earth, that is 3.5 kilometers below the earth. So you don't need to take the clearance at all, because जमीन के ऊपर कुछ नहीं होने वाला है, जमीन के नीचे ही होगा. So they thought we would have no impact on those national park or any vegetation. So this is something we can't accept or digest. Now, why EIA 2020 draft is in controversy? It is in controversy because first thing, they have shifted some A list from A to B. That means पहले जिसका EIA होता था अभी उसका नहीं होगा. Things like oil exploration, waterways, national highways, small electric generation from hydroelectric plants, so they will not have EIA. They don't have to go through EIA. Basically it is good. So there are both positive and negative implication. The positive implication is that industrialists are in benefit, because within short period of time वो अपना project start करके खत्म कर सकते हैं. But through environmentalist point of view, the small projects can also have a huge impact. Like recently we studied in grade 10 Peru highway, and they had a huge cultural and environmental impact because of that highway. So similar way, there may be a lot of problem due to this. Second is public hearing has been reduced from 30 days to 20 days. Or if you remember in this scoping, public is involved. So over here, earlier they were given 30 days. Now they have been reduced to 20 days only. So again, this is in favor of public and in favor of industrialists and not environmentalists. Third thing is post factor. Again, over here they are going to give more importance to starting the project, and later on they will see whether to give clearance or not. But I think whether first 2 to 3 years they can continue with the project, and later on they will see what impact it has. So this is also something in controversy. Second is submit only one annual report. So as I mentioned earlier, there used to be 2 annual reports, but now it will be only 1. This is something very funny called suo motu. Now what is this suo motu? That means that any cognizance, any problem, any report will be filed by only 2 authorities. One, the violator promoter, or the government. That means if I run a project, and if there is something wrong in that project, I will only go to government and will say कि मेरे project में कुछ गलती है. Okay, so this is something that common public will not have any right to challenge it. So either the owner or the government authority, वो दो ही challenge कर सकते हैं, and they can only ask for EI. So this is something which is favoring industrialists. And last but not the least, the new category has been added for EI, that is strategic points, or strategic projects. That means once government say कि ये प्रोजेक्ट स्ट्रेटेजिक है, उसका EIA नहीं होगा. No matter how environmentally destructive that project is, no matter how destruction it will have to economical or social aspect, but it will not go through any EIA project, or it will even not share any information from there. So this is something in controversy. Like obviously this can be helpful for the government, like let's say military project or something, but there can be mining project or any other project. If they put this under strategic project, then it would create a lot of problems. So here I am, and